Hello, welcome to another tonalist landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence. I'm Francis McCarthy, and the painting I'm bringing you today is called Edge of the Field, and it's an 8 by 10. It's a vertical, and we painted this last week. I don't know exactly what day. So, what distinguishes this? It's a nice little painting. You would have seen the little preview for the video. Hopefully you clicked on it and you're watching this. If you didn't click on it and you're not watching it, then who am I talking to? Anyway, yeah, it's two trees, a little bit of field, some sky, not much going on the ground. There's not much to it, and I've had this reference composite for a long time, but let me tell you what I changed that I think really helped improve things. So you see this tree in the center. I actually pulled that over to the center. In the original reference, these two trees were in the center together, and the amount of space on each side of them was roughly the same. So what I did was opened up that space on our right, and now you've got a place to go. And so a lot of times there'll be like, what was interesting me about the reference was just the two trees, and the fact one was straight and one was curved, and I thought I could do some interesting things with the forms of the foliage around the trees and things like that. And I wasn't too worried about the ground because, you don't always need to have, something amazing on the ground. That's my little dog playing with a paper towel roll, so I'm sorry for that. Sorry for the sniffle. I'm sorry for the next sniffle too. I had a sneeze. Got pollen dropping out here. What are you gonna do? Anyway, I managed to, this has been a kind of a theme with the last few, is, reference that was iffy. In some cases, I was able to pull it off. This is one of them. Other cases, the jury's out. And in other cases, I've outright failed. And it just goes back to, I mentioned what that Draw Mix Paint guy had said about reference. It was in his pricing video, which I think is one of the more recent videos on his channel. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. It's Bob, Bill, Ray, or Bert, something like that. He was saying, if the reference is all there, the painting takes care of itself. Painting paints itself. It's so true. It's so true. It really is. The reference is almost never there, though, for landscape painting. So it's something you got to do, something you got to resolve, and knowing what things those are, that takes years to figure out. I'm sorry. No, you can get a guy like me pointing things out. And that's why I don't mind sharing my struggles with you. I don't mind telling you how I've solved problems. Like in this case, I know you'd probably love to see the reference as well, but I'm not usually into sharing it. I got my reasons. But suffice to say, I move things around, and it's, you can have a lot of ideas that are in the abstract as you're just, say, looking at that reference photo and thinking about it. In my case, it's like I've kind of fine-tuned my intuition. So my intuition is saying, no, there's a problem, no, there's a problem. Not necessarily having an idea what the solution is. Oh, by the way, it's painting done, working on hardboard. It's been primed with 2 layers of transparent gesso, and I did my underpainting with burnt umber, and it looks really nice and rich. Really enjoy doing the underpaintings with burnt umber. A lot of times I do my underpaintings with black as well. Depends on circumstances, but both work. I think when you do your underpainting with the burn number, you tend to end up with overall a more warm painting, because quite a lot of that burn number is going to peek through. Yeah. So anyway, and the painting itself is really dialed back in. The amount of colors used. It's a pretty limited part of the color spectrum. It's kind of a play on reds and greens, I would say. And that's pretty much endlessly interesting how you can play reds off of the greens. Hold on here. And it used to be just burnt sienna I was doing that with, and then about 2 years ago I added cadmium red. I absolutely love cadmium red because if you're watching the live videos, almost every time I use cadmium red, I go, "Whoa, watch out!" Because it's good. It's going to have a good effect. It does. It's a great color. You can throw those reds, a bunch of cad reds in your greens, and you got this green red, and you can just go to town. And that's what I do. And a lot of times my greens will be very, very red, and then all you really need to do is throw a note of an actual greenish tone over the top, and everyone reads it as green. It's really funny in nature. I think a lot of what we perceive as being green in many cases is brown or red, with some greens mixed in. Yeah. Anyway, getting to the point of the video where a lot of people tune out if they haven't tuned out already, which is all good. Your time's valuable. Which gets to one of the things I wanted to. I wish Dave. I want to say his name. I know his name's Dave. He has a channel on Affinity. He doesn't just cover Affinity programs, but he covers design and things like that. But I started watching his channel because I've been using Affinity Publisher for the book project I've been sort of working on, and I am working on it. Don't you think? Don't you think I am not? I am. It's gonna take a while, but it's something happening every week on that. Yep. And speaking of, we're gonna get to a couple points that I came across while researching things for that project. But before we get into that, I want to get into what Dave was saying. I can't remember his last name. Sorry, Dave. Or his channel. Just put Dave and Affinity in YouTube, and you'll get there. Anyway, he's a really interesting guy and funny, and has been, of course, building up his channel. And one thing he was saying that touched on a phenomenon that I've experienced is like, and in his case, he's getting people a lot more, I guess, strident than anything I run into. And that's where basically he's like, people say, quit talking so much and just give us the answer. And he goes on, he talks about how, learning design, and the same goes for learning painting. You're something you want to do, you're something you want to figure out. Well, these days you go on YouTube and you try and figure it out, and you figure somebody's doing it and you're going to copy what they do, and then you figure that, you're learning, right? But what you're not doing is learning organically the way that most of us that know how to do it have learned. In Dave's case, it was with design, and he was apprenticed to a designer. He was in school, had an apprenticeship, and the guy did very different work from him, but this guy David learned all the ropes, everything, not everything you need to know, but all the important things you need to know. And he had someone challenging him and helping him progress in the real world where you're solving real problems. Okay. Dave's answer to people that were saying this to him was like, why don't you just be quiet and you might learn something? Just be patient, be quiet, and listen, and you might learn. Slow down. You think the best. A lot of times people think they know the best way to find the answers, and they think that's the direct way, but life doesn't usually work like that. Things have to happen in a roundabout way, and this is one of the reasons why I say if you're really, really interested in getting good at painting, you just want to do some painting every day, and you'll see that even things that you thought I said that were wrong, you'll come to see that there was a reason I said them, and that was all based on experience. What can you do? That's the best way to learn anything, is by doing it, and so many people think that they can do an end run around that whole process now that we have. This is a miraculous. I think it's, I've been putting up my videos on the YouTube since 2014, and I love it. I have 600 up. It doesn't matter what I say, folks. You know, look at the miracle of the painting happening before you. And yes, this has been sped up about 5 or 6 times. You're seeing it all happen from the board on up through the finished painting, and not just one painting. You know, there's 600 videos on my channel, and each one does the same thing. Each one is a miracle. A miracle that, you know, of course we take for granted, because a lot of people this has been around for a while. You know, they think this is just the way it is. But let me tell you, I don't take it for granted. You know, all we have, and I said this before on the channel, all we had when I was a kid was good old Bob Ross, man. You know, that's great if you like that kind of painting, and they're okay. I mean, I don't love that kind of painting. It's not what I'm interested in. It's not like real. You know, so I just wanted to pass that along. You know, if you are, and that's why I waited till after the 6-minute mark. The people that have bailed at 6, you know, are probably the ones that needed to hear it. But you know, do they have ears to hear? I don't know. The thing is that take in some videos, but don't spend your whole evening watching videos. Get your brushes out, get your paints out. We say, oh, I don't have this color, I need to do this other thing. Well, then open it up in your little video or photo program, make it black and white, and do a black and white painting. Or tint it with earth tone to do a sepia tone painting of your subject. You know, that takes 3 colors, and the black and white takes 2 colors. So you don't ever have to use that as an excuse. You say, oh, I don't have that good brush, I don't like these brushes. Well, good. Learn how to, the more you use them, the better they will respond to what you need them to do, and that can only happen if they get broke in. It's not very often that new brushes, you know, are really super awesome. It's generally when they're broken in a little bit. Now, some new brushes are, so as I'm saying that, I'm kind of dialing it back. It depends on the brand, depends on the size, and it depends on what you're trying to pull off. Anyway, there was another little thing I read, and I think this artist's name is Paul Strizik, and I've read a bit from his book before, and I probably will again. It's a great book. It looks like it came out in the 60s or 70s, and he's a good painter. It's one of these books where there's a lot of it's in black and white, which is hard. I think it's hard for us as moderns. I'll discount almost any art book I see now, because I don't like the black and white, you know. And I don't even like the older color reproduction, to be honest. But anyway, I'm reviewing this book. I'm looking for some approaches to imparting information in my own storied tome, and so I ended up reading things because it's a good book. He's talking about design, and you know, we've talked about design here. You know, it's a given. You must design your painting. You can't just copy photos with paint. You can, but they'll be bad paintings. And if you sell them, great. But it doesn't really, you know, mean they're not that they're good. So yeah, you need design. But he's talking about this, and he's talking about how there was a period in the 20s and 30s where most of a lot of the landscape paintings, I won't say most, I say a lot of the landscape paintings we produced were over-designed. They looked too designy, and they called too much attention to the design aspect. And that's you know, something I wanted to bring up, because yes, you need to design your painting, but you're not making a design, you're making a landscape painting. So let's not forget that. Don't get too you can have so much artifice when it comes to landscape painting, but artifice isn't the point, you know. Look at this, look at gee whiz, oh gosh golly, look at this flashy style or technique. You don't want any of that, you know. You want to design the work and have it solid, and then move on and do your painting. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sorry to ramble on, but you know, if you know me, you know that's what I do. So thanks for coming around and checking it out, and until I come back with another video, which God willing, will be very soon. Do me a favor, do me a solid. Take good care of yourself and your family and all your loved ones. Be patient with people that have points of view that are different from your own. They may know something that you do not. And stay out of trouble.